Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Kristin Crockett, founder of Courageous Destiny. Kristin is a transformational life and business coach who helps purpose-driven individuals own their voice, step into their truth, and create lasting impact through heart-centered action. With her blend of spiritual insight, bold conversation, and practical strategy, Kristin makes growth both powerful and playful. At the Freedom Era Summit, she'll be sharing her talk, The Gratitude Code, Reprogramming Your Mind for Courageous Destiny. And trust me, you don't want to miss this. Welcome, Kristin. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you for having me, Jamie.
Yes, this is going to be a fun talk. Well, I'm just going to jump in because I have some questions for you about your presentation with the Freedom Air Summit and just who you are and what you do. And so, one of the things that really stands out to me about you is that courage is such a core part of your work, right? I mean, your business is called Courageous Destiny. So, I'm curious what role gratitude played in helping you personally find your voice and live more courageously.
So, when I made the transition from corporate America to being an entrepreneur, one of the big things that happened to me was I had to learn how to pivot and I had to learn how to leap and I had to learn how to make big cannonballs and big messes.
Right.
And if I didn't, I was never going to learn, or it would take me so much longer to learn. So rather than judging myself or being a perfectionist, I actually learned how to just be really grateful for having the courage to try and keep getting up and trying. I had a saying back then, which was, and I still say it today, which I am rubber and I bounce right back. And that's
Nice.
really, I'm like, I could do this. I could do this.
A
Oh
nice
my gosh.
recoil.
Yes, exactly.
No one squashes us down. We come back. We recoil. We come back for more.
Exactly, exactly. I'm like, I can do this. And I made it a
So,
game and fun instead of letting it sink me or making any of these, mistakes that we made, if you want to call it a mistake, we'll call it a learning. When you're an entrepreneur, make any of it mean that I needed to quit or I was some type of way or,
mhm,
I learned how to stop judging myself.
mhm.
And I learned it through the power of gratitude.
So many people see gratitude, speaking of gratitude, as something really simple, maybe even surface level. It's very easy to just be like, oh, just think of things you're grateful for today. And that's wonderful and that's powerful and that's valuable. But in your experience, how can it become a much deeper spiritual practice that really truly connects us to who we truly are?
So one of the things that I've learned and I guide today is about being in a higher vibration, right? Being in a higher energy emotion.
Hmm.
And gratitude is really at the top. I believe peace is at the top, but gratitude is not too far below that. And I think, one of the things that I learned that is if I stayed in guilt or shame or anger or frustration, I was never attracting the kinds of things that I wanted.
Right.
So to me, gratitude was a spiritual practice because it allowed me to really attract the things in the life that I wanted more of.
Right.
And I started assigning my clients. There's the book, The Magic by Rhonda Burns.
I've heard of
There's
that.
the book, Thank and Grow Rich. All have courageous gratitude practices. And I would assign my clients, these books to read if they're like, I really want to get a lot of sales in, or I really need this to happen. And I'm like, okay, well, we're coming from lack right now. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and start practicing gratitude.
Right.
Every time somebody got their wedding paid for, somebody got the sale in that they wanted.
Right. Like miracles, what feels like
Miracles,
miracles,
like,
but really it's just matching the vibrational frequency of
yes.
receiving, of gratitude, of self-worth, right?
Yes, yes. And even for my clients that weren't as quote unquote spiritual or not as open to those things, they started practicing gratitude and they started experiencing it. And then it started opening up the door. Well, maybe there's more in life
Right.
because they'd start experiencing it.
Right. And interestingly, I also talk and teach a lot about vibrational frequency. So, just in case there's people tuning in who are not really familiar with that language, let's just back up a minute and just let everyone know that everything is energy. And science proves this, and everything has what's
Yes.
called a vibrational frequency. And different emotions have a vibrational frequency. And vibrational frequency, I always like to make it clear, is a speed at which the energy is moving. So it's really about between fast and slow and anywhere between the spectrum. And I like to clarify that for people because we've in the spiritual community, we've co-opted the language into high vibe and low vibe, and it's not really about high and low. That kind of creates a linear, like it's better if you're here than there, when really all emotions are important. All human experiences are valid and real. Anger is valid and real. Apathy, grief, they're part of the experience. But yes, typically you want to stay in the faster or high vibe frequencies. That's where you're going to attract more of what you want. But again, I do always like to state, I just think it's so important that we don't leave people. It's just a personal thing of mine to make sure people know that you're going to vacillate, and it's okay.
Oh,
And
for sure.
interestingly, I don't know if you've heard this, but recently, and I have to admit, I don't know how they discover these things. But allegedly, recently, they discovered that authenticity is the fastest, highest vibration, which still aligns with exactly your message. Gratitude into courage into authenticity, if I'm not mistaken, or it kind of all goes together. It's
Yeah,
not.
I think so. I do you know Stephen Hawking's? He
Yeah,
has the book Power versus Force, and there's
right,
this energetic chart
right.
that he represents that I tend to just look at as a general, as like a general,
Guideline.
yeah, as a general reference point or guideline
Right.
to share because I believe also it is scientific. It's been proven it's
Yes.
scientific.
Yes.
And if I really love that chart because it's not so much, I always think you should absolutely honor whatever emotion
Yeah.
is there because that acceptance, right? And that's when I found peace the
Yep.
highest when I
Right.
just accept whatever's going on in the moment.
Yep.
And a lot of times I can get there through gratitude. So gratitude is kind of like has become a stepping stone for me to be able to do something practical to get there when I'm ready to.
Yes.
And it's the when I'm ready to is really important.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? What do you mean by when you're ready to? What is
Sometimes
that
I want to
versus?
feel the emotion.
Right.
Sometimes I'm in a grieving state and I want to honor it.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm just pissed off
Yes.
and I want to honor that.
Yes.
Because if I don't get it out, it's never about using gratitude to put on rose colored glasses.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, it isn't about
It's
that. That's
not
why
to override
mm-mm.
any emotion or experience because emotions are really just meant to be felt and moved through you. Uh,
Right.
they're a roadmap, in my opinion, to your experience. They're letting you know when things are in alignment, things aren't in alignment, or it's just difficult.
But when we code our mind and we can practice a way of thinking in gratitude, that to me, it ties me personally, to my spirituality because it helps me release and give things. I like to say, for me personally, and I'm not putting this on anybody, but I love to release and give to God. Like, let me give it to God. It helps me to release and give it away.
Yes.
Certain things I can't control.
Right.
I can't control people, places, or things.
Right.
I can control my actions, reactions, motivations, and expectations. So I want to be able to allow myself when I'm ready to create a default to gratitude so I can
Right.
stay in those higher echelons, and practice being up there longer periods of time, if that makes
And
sense.
it does. And I also hear you touching on neuroplasticity and
Yes.
rewiring our brain.
Yes.
So it's mind, body, spirit, which I know we're both big proponents of, that, you have to sort of activate each of those pieces within you. In fact, what is one way you would recommend dropping into the body with gratitude? How do you practice that in more of a somatic way?
I
Felt.
mean, for me, it's music.
Okay.
So I align music with gratitude that helps me think of positive memories that I've experienced and helps me think of my
Wow.
blessings.
Yes.
Because if I can think of my blessings and I can take myself to all those really great and wonderful things in life that really are happening. I'm just happen to be looking at one right now that's not working out so well,
Yeah.
then that helps me bring it into the body.
Yeah. Or on the other note, I like to use music to actively grieve. There's definitely that thing of like put on the sad
Yeah.
music when you need to let the tears flow. Like there, it's welled up inside of you, but you're struggling to release it. And it's like put on that sad movie or sad music. But the other thing that music makes me think of is I'm going to tend to move my body. I may or may not be prancing all over, but I might be bebopping in my chair. I might be just kind of wiggling and shake. So that's really, yeah, we got to
I'm
make
like,
a
all right,
wiggle and
let's
a
do it.
shake it. We got to do, yeah. So, well, speaking of that, this reminds me of something else that I know you're a big proponent of, and that is making growth not only powerful, but playful. So, how do you bring a sense of playfulness into your practices like gratitude? So, which again, some people tend to see as, well, we talked about how some people see gratitude as sort of like surface level, but then there's other people who think it's very serious inner work, which perhaps it can be, but how do you bring in the playfulness to that?
So I've always been a lighthearted spirit and I like to have fun. In my mind, even all growing up, it was like a Saturday Night Live skit. It just was like I can see the humor in things. I can see, the lighter side. And I always love to help people laugh.
It's such a
And
gift. It's such a gift to be able to do that.
yeah, I really love to do that. And I love to laugh myself. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. And so to me, it's how do I bring it in? I bring it in with my sense of humor,
Right.
you know. How do I explain my sense of humor? It's just I think that there's always a perspective that can really add an element of forgiveness right away and
Yeah.
grace right away
Uh,
that we're all growing through it. We are all experiencing like things in our life. Think people have things happening all over the place. We're not the only ones experiencing that. And
right.
I truly take on that I'm in this body to evolve. My
Right.
soul's here to evolve, which
Right.
means I'm going to grow through things. I'm supposed to.
Right.
And so if I'm
Might as well have fun doing it. Might as well be
yeah,
silly doing it.
yeah, like it doesn't have to be serious.
Right.
And when I realized it's funny in my coach training. So I've coached thousands of hours of mentorship and different coaches and, evolving myself into the coach that am today from a pretty wild cowgirl salesperson. Like that's where I started.
Wow. I love that description.
Right. So I was like pretty wild and I had so much humor. And I remember my coach saying, we can't deflect the message though. And you don't want to use humor to deflect it. You
Right.
want to use humor to move you forward.
Right.
And for a while, I lost my sense of humor, just kind of about like, I don't know, I don't want to deflect, and I want people to
Oh, so you kind of quieted that aspect a little
I
bit. You were trying
quieted
to,
that aspect
right.
until I started journaling about it because I missed it. And I'm like, how do I bring it back and use it to help move people forward, to move me forward?
Yeah.
And so now it's really that discernment, using it to move forward so I can laugh.
Right.
And when I'm ready to not feel the feels, if there's a feeling that, I still have things that I need to do in a day and I want to make sure I accomplish those initiatives, if it's important to me, I have a choice.
Yeah.
I can be what I like to call the master creator of my own courageous destiny if I choose.
Hmm. Hmm.
I can also cancel my schedule.
Hmm. Yep.
So
Yep.
I can do either one. It's
Yep.
what do I want in that moment?
It's choice. Right. So one of the things you touched on is some of the changes you've seen people have, or really the outcomes, I want to say, like when they started practicing gratitude, like they got things that they wanted, sort of physical aspects or whatever. But what other kind of shifts do you see in people, maybe more like emotionally or mentally, not just the like physical outcomes, but what other kind of shifts do you notice in people when they start to show up in the world with gratitude and courage?
I see them being their authenticity, having the courage to be their authenticity. I look at we have all of these filters. I kind of look at the filters like they're stickers all over my body.
Mhm.
And every time I remove a sticker, I let more of my authenticity, more of my light shine through.
Right,
And what I see, even beyond the results are great,
right,
but it's their happiness and their the power that they get that they can do it.
right.
They empower themselves. When you can empower yourselves and you don't need another human being to do that for you, it's
Yeah,
an incredibly freeing thing.
yeah.
We don't realize it, but a lot of times we're really addicted to somebody else giving us something,
Yes.
you know?
Them sort of shining our light on us, like them reminding us what our light is. It really hits it for me when you
Yes.
said their light starts to shine through.
Yeah.
Their lights, and that changes everything. That changes everything. It
Changes
changes the
everything.
relationship. It changes how you face the world, how you perceive and receive the world, um, your self-worth. I mean, that changes everything when your
I
own
mean,
authentic light shines.
and I love what I do so much, Jamie, because once that happens, something different can come out of it than they ever thought they imagined. So like I could have somebody hire me for one thing, like let's do this. And then they do a complete 180 and they're like, I never even wanted to do that in the first place. That was actually somebody else's. That wasn't even my dream.
Right.
And that happens all the time in Courageous Destiny. And and I love to get people in tune to that thing that they're here, that passion and that love that they're here to do.
Mhm.
Because then when they can do that full time, they can live in that state more
Yeah.
and more and more and just live an incredibly happy and fulfilled life because that's
Yeah,
really
life
what
takes
it's
on
all about.
a whole new
Yeah.
everything. Well, this really is the point of the Freedom Era Summit, for which you are a presenter, because the whole essence of the Freedom Era Summit is breaking those chains, those roles, liberating yourself into who you want to be, who maybe you played small before for other people, for what you were raised as or told you were, the labels, the roles, the programming. And you even mentioned the word, it helps women be free, it helps them be free to live authentically. This is one tool that we're going to be offering at the Freedom Era Summit, and there'll be so many more wonderful ones. But, your presentation is going to be helping women breaking free from these invisible chains through gratitude and courage. And I'm so excited that you're going to be presenting. I can't wait to see
I
the
did too.
presentation. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today. Your reminder that gratitude is not just a mindset, but a reprogramming tool feels very, very needed in this moment at this time. I do think people are struggling heavily right now, just a lot of confusion and chaos and uncertainty. And so I think this is perfect time to have the Freedom Air Summit, talk about gratitude, talk about courage. And so, for those who want to dive deeper into the summit, that will be happening September 26th through 28th. Tickets will go on sale. Free tickets, I might add, will go on sale on September 15th. But before then, can you share where people can find you in the meantime and connect with you?
Absolutely. You can find me on Linktree, of course, which is Linktree Courageous Destiny. And then you can also find me on Facebook in the Courageous Destiny movement
Nice.
and Kristin
Which is a
Crockett.
group, right? It's a
Yes,
private Facebook community.
yes. And the Linktree has all the links to all the socials.
Okay, and I'll drop that in this interview for sure.
And then,
And
of course, on the Courageous Destiny podcast.
yes, yeah, oh yeah.
The Build a
Oh,
Business and Life You Love podcast.
and is that like Spotify? Is that all the places?
It's on all the things.
You
On all
said
the
that really
things.
fast. Say it a little slowly for everybody.
Sure. It's the Courageous Destiny, Build a Business and Life You Love podcast. It'll be on Apple and Spotify.
Awesome. Well, when you are ready to boldly step into a life of freedom, worthiness, and authentic power, you can reserve your ticket for the Freedom Era Summit September 15th and join me and Kristin and 11 other presenters who want to help you step into your freedom era. Thank you so much, Kristin, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Jamie.
You're welcome. We will talk to you soon.
Excellent.